1v1 on Semoskiy, GBPirate, who I have cast before, and Fatsmerf, who I am familiar with. I believe Juliet and I have played against him at least 1 or 2 times, so I am very familiar with both of these players. And we are going to see Rifleman start from GBPirate in the west base, and Stern Pioneer start from Fatsmerf in the east base. A little unusual to see a Stern Pioneer start because they're so fragile, and if you don't have any units to sort of tank damage for them on the front lines, like Volksgrenadiers, they can die rather quickly. So it is interesting that he would go with that unit first. Often you see a Kuba wagon start if they want to be aggressive, and Volksgrenadier start if they want to be a little more conservative. No scouting with the supply half-track. He's just going to let that sit in his base. And second Rifleman squad on the field. So it looks like we're probably going to see a standard 3 Rifleman start, not sprinkling in any rear echelon troops, although that can be useful on these larger maps for backcapping. We do see Volksgrenadier squad coming out third from Fatsmerf, so that will help him take some ground.
Volksgrenadier are on the line. Target secure. Establish defensive line.
And it looks like he is skipping this north point. Interesting. Maybe he's going to send his Volksgrenadiers to go cap that. It's important to realize that those 2 points are not connected. You do need to hold this one to get any benefit from this. It looks like GBPirate is sending his rear echelon troops to take the south while he's focusing his riflemen primarily in the north. And it looks like he may catch these Stern Pioneers in a bad position. He could win the first engagement if... it's gonna be close. Oh, they completely missed that first volley. I think that the Stern Pioneers may have the advantage, especially if he runs away. He should not have moved. He should have held his ground. Now he's going to take a lot of damage. That was a mistake by GBPirate right there. That definitely lost him that engagement. He needs to retreat those. Now he may... Good move, actually. Bringing them up around the top, although it looks like he's going to try and cut off his retreat, if at all possible. He's not chasing them because he's aware of the second Rifleman squad. Meanwhile, second Stern Pioneer squad looks like it pays off as it chases off these rear echelon troops. So good move there. Volksgrenadiers moving up to support. Now these Stern Pioneers are going to take a little damage from these riflemen. Should probably back away. Got some free damage on them there. This Rifleman squad moving down. He's actually using the, rather than retreating it, he's using it to cap because he doesn't expect it to find any enemies up here. So that's actually a good move. Not retreating, probably saved that Rifleman squad's life and also got him a little extra capping power. So well played there. He's moving into the city with his riflemen, but these are still capping, so they can't support. Hides the Stern Pioneers behind the fence. It's important to note that this church only has one window facing to the north right here, so it's quite easy to get squads out of the building if you stand directly north of it. Stern Pioneers charging. That may be a mistake, though. They're getting quite low on health now. However, they are extremely close to vetting up, and once they do, they will be able to heal themselves and others with the medical supply box. Using volley fire, but it looks like he's just going to run straight out of range.
God damn it! Someone get us out of here! Reinforcements in. Welcome to the death factory.
Engaging at mid to long range. Continuing to whittle away at those Stern Pioneers while trying to take as little damage on his riflemen as possible. Meanwhile, he sends another stray squad up to the north to recapture those munitions. And of course, he is working on his fuel that these Stern Pioneers are doing a good job harassing. Finally, it looks like those Stern Pioneers have no choice but to retreat, but they have done just enough damage and taken just enough damage to vet up, so they will be able to plant medical supply boxes now. So good time to retreat those. Riflemen moving to get these Volksgrenadiers out of the building. Circling around in time, they get back inside. That's a little strange. He's taking a lot of damage. He's going to want to get out of there as soon as possible. Doesn't want to lose that squad. He does have one rifleman squad in their retreat path as well, and there's nothing moving up to support. He could lose those. Volley fire going out on some stern pioneers in the south, but those riflemen are a little too close, and it looks like they've stopped firing because of the hedge. Good use of those stern pioneers. Volley fire is going to run out, and then he could, in fact, chase both of those squads off. But he's not paying attention to the Volksgrenadiers in the middle. He was expecting to get a little more time from that building, but the riflemen do eliminate the entire squad. So that was well played by GBPirate on both of those fronts, not losing any full squads. Not yet, at least. Yep, there goes the rear echelon troops. So good unit preservation, although his map control could be a little bit better at this 5-6 minute mark. We see that he went with ambulance first rather than an officer. He has not picked one. Judging by his fuel, maybe he's thinking of going captain first, but he still has not made the purchase, so he's probably focused a little too much on his early engagements and not enough on his build. Especially since, had he made a lieutenant long ago, he could have pushed this back no problem. Having the fuel right outside your base harassed as the Allies, especially as the US, is definitely not good. If that's happening, then you really need to redirect at least a little bit more firepower down there so that you can make sure you always have that. If anything, it's your opponent's fuel that needs to be compromised, not your own. Puts riflemen in the building. Should have stayed in the building. They're quite low health. They're at 3/4 health. He could have won that. Also, the flak half-track does almost negligible damage to units in buildings, so that's something to consider. And we see that he went with Jaeger Light Infantry, which is a rare commander, which is why you don't see it very often. Not very many people have it. But Jaeger Light Infantry are extraordinarily potent anti-infantry units at long range. They're equipped with these sniper rifles, but they have absolutely no anti-vehicle capabilities whatsoever, so they are similar to Obersoldaten in that regard, except for that they are pretty terrible at short range. They are really only good at long range. And if we take a look at what abilities they have, they can booby trap a capture point. It's a very expensive ability, but sometimes you can wipe a full squad with that. Sprint, which is exactly what it sounds like, and they can also salvage like Volksgrenadiers and stern pioneers, as well as field first aid, which allows them to treat other injured soldiers for 20 munitions. Kind of expensive compared to the supply boxes, which will heal 3 squads rather than just 1 squad, so possibly good if you're in some sort of emergency situation. You may even be able to use that in combat, but I'm not sure. Flak half-track moving up here. Tries to stay at maximum range, which is good to do. Not quite able to get a good angle on those riflemen, and they make it into the building. Oh, but they evacuate the building, and now they're going to probably take some heavy damage. Yes, ouch. They may not even escape if he's not... He really needs to retreat those. Oh, I guess... I'm not sure what happened there. These riflemen are planting these light AT mines down here, which... curious about what that is. It is an M7 light anti-tank mine. It does a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of damage to vehicles, but it can disable their engines. So it's really not very good as far as damage goes, but if you're lucky, it can damage an engine, and that is pretty much the only purpose of those mines, which is why they have such an incredibly low price tag, only 5 munitions to plant those. And he plants a cluster of them down here, and you can plant them quite close together to try and increase the damage output. Meanwhile, it looks like he is harassing his enemy's fuel, so that's good, but he's using Jaeger Light Infantry to sort of force those riflemen off the map. And they are definitely doing a good job of neutralizing these riflemen who are still unupgraded. So he's going to need to field some sort of stronger counter to those Jaeger Light Infantry, because his riflemen are not going to cut it, especially with this flak half-track on the feet. He could definitely use a light vehicle at this point. More infantry is going to be tough, considering how heavily his opponent is countering his build right now. And he does have 1 Panzerschreck, but I believe that is all the AT that he has right now, and I see that he has gone with the Mechanized Regiment headquarters, so he could get a Puma at some point. He does have 100 fuel saved up, but he may be thinking that he'd rather tech up now, considering that he spent a decent amount of fuel on this flak half-track. Pack howitzer coming out from GBPirate. Wouldn't recommend this unit, honestly. It's extremely expensive for what you get out of it. It is 480 manpower, and it's honestly not that great. As you can see, it's been firing over here for quite some time, and it's only netted 1 kill and a pathetic amount of veterancy/damage, so not the greatest. I really think that the U.S. is quite lacking in indirect fire. Their mortar half-track is bad, their pack howitzer is bad. The M8 Scott is pretty much the only indirect fire unit they have that I think is actually worth what you pay. So, something to consider there. Volksgrenadiers harassing the top, while these rear echelon troops and riflemen are working on the bottom. Lots of back and forth on the flanks of the map, and it looks like we do see he has gone with infantry company and upgraded with the light machine guns. So, that will hopefully help him dish out a little bit more damage against these tough elite infantry units that his opponent is fielding. Volley fire goes out too late. Those guys are going to have to retreat. They're definitely not going to suppress anything. However, riflemen are well placed, and they force a retreat from those Storm Pioneers. So good placement of his riflemen there, and he should be able to win this engagement first. These Volksgrenadiers, he's vetted up, and if he just closes into mid to short range, he should win this. Although he has a slight damage disadvantage, he shouldn't run away. Your men will never fire while moving away from enemies. They only fire while moving towards enemies. So that may have been a bit of a mistake. It also cost him time. Engagements will be much quicker at short range, and that's why those Volksgrenadiers are still alive. Flak half-track was able to chase him away, but he does a good job of fighting on multiple fronts as he eliminates yet another full squad in the north without losing any full squads in the south. So, very good unit preservation. He's doing a good job of whittling away his opponent's squads. Very impressive there. But we do see a third Jaeger light infantry squad, and these cost 290 manpower, so they're not actually all that expensive despite how effective they are. So, pretty cost-effective unit there for sure. And he's doing a good job of harassing the map with them. He has a squad working on this fuel point. See, the accuracy of that is absolutely terrible. Not even close on either of those shots. The scatter is just too big to make the pack howitzer worth it, in my opinion. And that was a direct hit right on the center of the squad, and only one of them died, and the rest have almost full health. Terrible. Scatter's too big, and the damage is too low. Jaeger light infantry are working on this captain. Captain doesn't have very particularly good anti-infantry capabilities unless he can get some lucky bazooka shots. These riflemen hole up in the house, and they are working on these Volksgrenadiers. The flak half-track is doing decent damage against them. It's working on their health. It takes some time, but a captain in a house versus flak half-track, the captain will win. Standard riflemen, obviously, are not going to stand a chance. He walks this rifleman squad right into that flak half-track. Not sure what he was thinking there. He needs to get it out of there. He does get it out of there. He's trying to flank with his Stuart, but I think he's going to change his mind now that he sees this Panzerschreck over here. He's just going to get out of there. He could, in fact, have killed that without losing the Stuart, I think, if he had. Whoa, that's not good, though. He needs to use the Stuart's disabling shot to survive this. Oops. And he does. Crew shocked, crew stunned, or whatever. He should probably just get out of there, though. Or it looks like he's gonna go for it. Panzerschreck squad moving up, though. Oh, and that shot misses the Puma as he's moving away, and he allowed the Puma to fire on his rear armor, and that is the end of that Stuart. What he probably should have done, knowing that a Panzerschreck squad was here, was use his disabling shot on the Puma and immediately driven away to regroup. Although, had he gone this direction rather than towards the Panzerschreck, he probably could have taken the Puma out. So, not sure what the best move would have been there. That was a judgment call. Didn't quite pay off for him, though. And that is unfortunate, because that Puma is going to be quite difficult to deal with, especially if he allows it to vet up, but it's not moving, and there's a captain going straight for it. Oh, I don't think he's paying attention. He really needs to get that out of there. What is he doing? Pop smoke. Maybe is it immobilized? No, it can move. I think he was just not paying attention. But he does pop smoke just in time, and he is able to possibly even eliminate that captain entirely. No, the captain gets away, but he does hand over a bazooka. Very lucky that that Puma survived. He hit with 2 direct hits with a bazooka, and I am very surprised it didn't get destroyed during that. So that was just bad luck on GBPirate's part. Definitely should have been a dead Puma.
The Germans just cut off our supply lines.
He's working on taking the middle, but this flak half-track is definitely doing a good job of keeping him pinned.
Gun batteries report barrage
However,
strikes.
he is doing a good job of harassment in the south with this rear echelon troop squad. They are constantly down there retaking territory, so well played there.
Knock it off and listen up.
Light machine gun squad versus Stern Pioneer squad. Looks like it could go either way, but they retreat just to be safe. Had he charged, they would have taken more damage, but also done more damage, so...
We're losing a capture point. Listen up, fellas.
Folks Grenadier squad retaking the victory point, while the rear echelon troops are also taking some territory. These riflemen walk straight into that flag half-track, take heavy casualties, and get suppressed. Jaeger light infantry moving up for a cutoff, and also hopefully kill this
Battalion just released a major for action.
AT gun. In the entirety of this game, this howitzer has netted only 3 kills. If you are not convinced that this unit is useless, hopefully you will be by the end of this replay. However, it does get a couple good shots off on those overly aggressive Jaeger light infantry. Can't get too aggressive as the Overcommando West. There's really no reason to take this point. You really just need to hold your half of the map and try and delay and survive. Don't feel like you have to go take the point directly outside of the Allied base. It's simply not necessary. Ostwind on the field. That is, of course, part of the Jaeger light infantry commander. It is 280 manpower, 100 fuel, and it is, I think, not quite as good as the Oster Ostwind, but it's very similar unit.
Crew, get ready.
But I could be wrong. I'm not really 100% sure of its stats. That's just the impression I get based on what limited experience I have facing it. Howitzer barrage going over here. Misses. Direct hit for not very impressive damage.
Squad number spark.
I think the infantry support gun
Ready for battle.
does considerably more damage than that on a direct hit on an opponent, especially if you use it as an anti-vehicle barrage ability. But I don't think I've ever seen that ability used in any replay I've ever cast, because spending munitions to fire it at a vehicle is just silly. Captain working on this Puma, but he keeps shooting the shrubs. And that Puma is going to hit Vet 1 very soon, which is going to be problematic because the higher Vet a Puma gets, the more dangerous it becomes. Obviously, but Pumas more so than most units, I would say, because at around Vet 3 or 4 especially, they become quite effective at dealing with infantry and can take entire tanks on by themselves, so they become an extremely devastating unit if you let them get that strong. Good harassment going on in the south. These mines have never been driven over,
Squad under fire.
since he's never felt the need to send any vehicles down there, and he's probably not going to for the entirety of this game. Oh no, it looks like that was a full squad of Jaeger light infantry that just got taken out, though.
Infantry.
Oh, but a holy vet rifleman squad also dies, so that is a heavy blow
That's complete.
to both sides of this. If we look at unit preservation, we see that only 1 rifleman squad remains from GBPirate now, but Fatsmerf, I think, has also lost several full squads, but he still has 3 of these Jaeger squads, 2 Panzerschreck squads, 1 Stern Pioneer. GBPirate, on the other hand, has rear echelon troops, 1 rifleman, a captain, and a major, 2 team weapons, so he's really lacking for general infantry. He really needs to crank out some more infantry, especially since he's got an infantry company, and that's where most of his power is, but he's having a lot of trouble dealing with these tanks. Most of Fatsmerf's army is dedicated to anti-infantry, including his vehicles and his Jaeger squads, so Fatsmerf definitely needs to get some higher tech stuff out, but he is also hurting for infantry. It's looking pretty grim for him right now. He's lost most of the map. And he's continually finding himself in these engagements with his captain that he just can't win. Especially now that his captain has dropped a bazooka somewhere over here. And I'm not sure whatever became of that bazooka. It's probably gone. Some squad picked it up and probably died or something. Forward retreat point established here. Not that far forward, but certainly better than nothing. Especially on maps. I don't think it happens on this map, but on maps where there's this hole in the base faced towards where they're retreating from, sometimes they'll all clump in here when they retreat and then stopping outside. And then it can actually cost you quite a bit of time as you're trying to fish them all out of the base. So, even establishing it right here can save some time, even if it's not all that significant. And it's gonna be interesting to see how GBPirate gets himself out of this. Fatsmerf has an incredible advantage. Barrage going out. Some small amount of damage. The explosion certainly looks impressive. It's too bad it doesn't actually do anything. Flag half-track and Ostwind moving down to support. AT gun isn't going to be able to get a clear angle with this hedgerow right here. It's going to have to move it forward, which could be quite dangerous. I wouldn't be surprised if... Oh, direct hit from the howitzer on the front of the flag half-track. That was quite lucky. Oh, and another direct hit on the Ostwind, which may actually cost him that Ostwind. If this fires, he's going to need to attack ground. Oh, Captain using Sprint. Well, it's a passive ability, but it looks like that Sprint may have given him the edge he's going to need to at least take out one of these vehicles. Come on, fire that one bazooka. Oh, and the Ostwind goes down, and this has packed up. If it had held stationary, it probably could have suppressed or pinned him. He must have thought it was going to fire at the flag half-track. Captain Sprint is going to kick in any second, and he may be able to catch up if he keeps on going, especially if he stops for even a second, but it looks like he is going to make it all the way. Captain gives up and retreats, or not retreats, but advances backwards to take some territory, while these riflemen are also moving out to take some territory. And looks like we are seeing a second rifleman squad has been produced, and he has made as well a second pack howitzer, which I think may have been a mistake. Even this one was probably pushing it. And while it did obviously put that little bit of extra damage on that Ostwind that allowed him to destroy it, I still would argue that it was not a very good purchase. A second AT gun, or even two AT guns, would be roughly the same price and certainly much more effective at the same role. Throughout this entire game, it still has only 10 kills. Oh, but it looks like Fatsmerf has made a critical mistake putting his Schwerer Panzer headquarters right here, as these two LMG riflemen are... He really needs to start firing at it, though. There you go. He started shooting at it. He needs to, if at all possible, he needs to get that second rifleman squad up to start firing on it. No, he's crossing the road. Why is he doing that? He should just... he needs to stay behind that green wall. Oh, no. Now he's going to let it complete. Hopefully his pack howitzers will be able to finish it off. He did put very good damage on it, so he should hopefully be able to... Yeah, his pack howitzers will definitely be able to finish that off. Eventually. Probably before Fatsmerf can even make any units out of it, so that looks like that was a bit of a misstep on his part. He should be repairing that as soon as possible, but his Stern Pioneers were forced to retreat, which means repairs aren't going to be coming up on this for at least another minute or two, which is going to give GBPirate plenty of time to destroy it, especially with his Sherman on the field. So that was a huge mistake on Fatsmerf's part. In fact, I'm surprised that it took him so long to even build that thing. He had the entire map for so long, and yet he only just barely managed to put it up as soon as he was unable to defend it. Oh, and the building gets taken out. And that is an entire... Rakettenwerfer, I believe, taken out. Flak half-track trying to hold south. Sherman's moving up, and this fair Panzer headquarters is absolutely screwed. Captain sprinting for the victory point, and that is the Schwer Panzer headquarters is done. Sherman's probably going to move on this flak half-track now, which is completely unsupported and should have been heading back to the base the minute those rear echelon troops were chased off or killed. Chased off, it looks like. It's still just sitting there. I'm surprised that GBPirate isn't chasing it down. He knows it's down there, but I guess he doesn't want to risk losing his Sherman to this blob, which he probably thinks is already on its way back, but it's only just now leaving the base. But with Captain's support, this Sherman could probably take out both this Puma and this flak half-track. Meanwhile, spare rifleman squad is being sent to the north to recapture some territory. Things have definitely taken a turn for the better for GBPirate, thanks to taking out that Ostwind, and it looks like Fatsmerf has left himself rather lacking in the AT department. His one Rakettenwerfer exploded in this building, unfortunately for him, and he's now forced to face a Sherman with nothing but a Puma and 2 Panzerschrecks, which can be adequate, but a Sherman in general will defeat a Puma. Usually. It, of course, depends on veterancy and ability usage and lots of other factors, but the Sherman does have the advantage. The Blob is moving straight towards GBPirate's team weapons, taking some damage from those pack howitzer shots, though. He's clumping himself ridiculously tight. That was a good shot there. And this actually has made it up to 29 kills, I think, thanks mostly to that one shot just right there. But he continues charging and forces those to retreat, and he in fact drops 105 howitzer barrage, which completely obliterates all those team weapons, maybe even completely destroying them. He had a lot of munitions saved up when he dropped that, so that is going to continue dropping quite a few shells. Wow. Look at that. That is crazy. That may be the longest barrage I've ever seen. I'll be amazed if this gun survives this. It's still going. This is insane. But the gun does survive, believe it or not. It looks like this Sherman is losing an engagement against the Puma over here. So that looks like he used an aimed shot, and he is Vet 2 at this point, and the Sherman has no veterancy at all. And now the Puma, with his superior speed on the road, may in fact chase that Sherman all the way down, which could be bad. Meanwhile, some triple vet riflemen are working on Jaeger light infantry. There's some infantry down here harassing the fuel. Captain moving up to help against the Puma, which for some reason is staying to fight them rather than chasing down that Sherman. It's important to remember as Oberkommando West that the U.S. base defenses don't do any damage to Pumas, so you don't need to feel scared to base rush if you don't think that your opponent has anything in his base to defend against you. He knows that he just eliminated those AT guns completely. He knows that the only bazookas on the field are one bazooka held by the captain, and he knows that the Sherman is almost dead. He should have definitely chased in that scenario, but instead he was too conservative. It's important to remember when to be conservative and when to be aggressive, and he should have been aggressive in that situation. This Puma was at full health, double vet, could have easily taken out that Sherman, but he's now allowed it to be repaired, and a second one has made it on the field. So that was a bit of a mistake on Fatsmerf's part. And meanwhile, GBPirate is working on the north half of the map, as well as harassing the south, making good use of his officers' sprint abilities. All officers will sprint at all times if they're out of combat once they hit Vet 3, and that makes them excellent units for capping. Second Sherman moving south to work on these two squads. They have absolutely no AT down here whatsoever. So that will be
capture point is being overrun.
Looks like we're getting into
Easy
the
for his Sherman to win that engagement.
ground's ours.
Looks like he's hiding some Stern Pioneers. Oh, that's interesting. Alright,
German forces
he's coming back.
tracking on 300
Puma, however, coming down to support to see if it will be able to beat the Sherman. However, it is going to run right into this cluster of AT mines if it gets a little too aggressive. It depends on what he does with the Sherman. Looks like he is trying to bait him, but I don't think... Oh, maybe he will.
Krauts are taking one of our points.
Meanwhile, it looks like some harassment going on in the center. Another Sherman working on that. Oh, and it hits the mine cluster and its engine is damaged. It does get an aim shot off on the Sherman, though. The Sherman should back away. Oh, it cannot traverse its turret, but if you manually tilt your tank to the correct angle, then you'll be fine. Interesting, neither of them's firing or moving. You can always attack ground. And the Sherman defeats Puma. No attempt to recover it, and I guess he just assumed it was dead due to its damaged engine and decided to focus on his fight in the middle, which is also going poorly. The flak half-track has been taken out by the Sherman. These Jaeger light infantry are going to get... Ooh! Nasty shot right there. That wasn't even a high explosive round, but they were sufficiently clumped. Trying to crush... Oh, that may have been a mistake. The hull gun would have been sufficient, I think. If you just face forward, the hull gun will do a decent amount of damage. But it doesn't matter. He does take out the full squad. Meanwhile, Jaeger light infantry in the north trying to work on this point. And I'm very surprised. Well, not surprised. Just... It's interesting that there's no higher tech units on the field yet. That is obviously because his Schwerer Panzer headquarters was destroyed in the middle and he was forced to rebuild it. That was a huge setback. But he does have it up now, so Fatsmerf is probably going to start cranking out some higher tech units as soon as he can. Oh, grenade going out. He throws it a little far back though. He was expecting them to dodge backwards, but they did not. However, it looks like the damage will be sufficient. He'll win that engagement if he doesn't retreat. He could lose the full squad. Does not chase. And the squad gets away. So, GBPirate will be able to take the North victory point, giving him some much-needed map control. He really needs to put the nail in the coffin as quickly as he can. This game's running quite long, and he knows his opponent's probably going to start fielding some high-tech solutions very soon. Kettenwerfer well-placed. Oh! And that Volksgrenadier squad has the bazooka that his captain dropped. I was wondering where that was. There it is. That Volksgrenadier squad has it. Oh! Perfect! He tries to pop smoke out of his Sherman to protect him, but it lands a little off, and they are able to take the Sherman out. However, the second Sherman is out for revenge, and it is chasing mercilessly. Looks like a howitzer barrage going in on the center, but that was aimed a little off. There's not really anything in the center of the barrage. Sherman continues to chase, but it misses, and both of those will get away clean, so very well played there by Fatsmerf, who's... Oh, those rear echelon troops are not paying attention. It looks like he definitely got the upper hand in that series of engagements, took out a Sherman and a squad of infantry. Meanwhile, these hidden Stern Pioneers are going to be able to harass. So, other than a poorly aimed howitzer barrage, I would say that that went quite well for Fatsmerf. However, he is desperate for map control. Even though he didn't lose much, he is definitely behind as far as unit preservation goes.
105mm artillery barrages are available at your convenience.
And he's desperately going to need to retake some territory. Oh, and he needs to stop bleeding manpower through these Jaeger light infantry squads. He's probably going to lose that full squad with these triple vet riflemen shooting at him. Oh, Sherman takes out a rifleman. Oops. Lieutenant chases those Stern Pioneers away, and they were extremely overextended, which means that they will probably not make it home. Although it looks like these riflemen are not making a move to take them out. But the Sherman is. However, it probably could not have done that more poorly as far as turret rotation goes. Missed shot on the bazooka slash Shrek squad. Oh, and both of those hits land. Up to triple vet now. They're going to become quite dangerous. You should probably pop smoke, try and get out of there. Oh. But the hedgerow is blocking the Rakettenwerfer. And if it comes around the corner, then these triple vet riflemen are probably going to clean it out quite quickly. Especially if they use a grenade. Oh, camouflage though, which protects it for at least a moment. However, the next high explosive round absolutely destroys it. And now, oh, he retreats the rifleman. He's retreated the rifleman, and he's now up against the double Shrek slash bazooka squad. Oh, he sacrifices his Jaeger light infantry to crew the Rakettenwerfer, but it backs up too quickly. And he just gets out of there. He doesn't think he's going to catch a lucky break, and he opts to just retreat.
Shift fire! Shift your goddamn fire on that infantry! Enemy flanking us!
And Fatsmerf is going to throw out the GG, so that will conclude the game. So that howitzer barrage was critical, but it was not enough to keep GBPirate down, who did a good job of using his Shermans towards the end there to really dominate the map and push back anything Fatsmerf had. Fatsmerf never teched up to any proper AT. He focused entirely on anti-infantry for the entirety of the game, hoping that nothing but Panzerschreck squads and a Puma would be sufficient, and I think that would have been sufficient. In fact, if he had been a little more aggressive with that Puma, and had he not hit these mines down here. So, pretty incredible comeback, and I think that the most important engagement was the one where that Schwerer Panzer headquarters was destroyed so prematurely, because Fatsmerf simply did not have any units to protect it at the time when he went to build it there. So, very good comeback by the US, very interesting game, and I hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe, and I also do stream on Twitch, and thanks for watching.